Good morning, children. Welcome to the social session. Children, we were trying to understand about the making of Indian Constitution in our previous class, and we tried to answer two important questions raised if this draft constitution is put in the hands of this last student. What is the form of the constitution and what is the form of the government that is envisaged in the constitution? These were the two important questions which Ambedkar tried to explain in the Constituent Assembly while passing the draft constitution. Today, we try to understand some of the criticisms faced on the draft constitution, what kind of critics addressed in the Constituent Assembly. A part of that has been taken out from the videos of the Constituent Assembly, from the records of the Constituent Assembly. There were many criticisms on the draft constitution. For example, Maulana Hazrat Mohini, he argued that constitution is merely a copy of the 1935 Act passed by the British government. The Government of India Act 1935 was there, and this constitution is also just a copy of that, he asked. And it was remained that during the freedom movement, when cabinet mission visited India, political groups like Indian National Congress demanded universal adult suffrage and opposed 1935 Act. They have demanded that voting rights should be extended to everybody whoever finishes up 21 years of age. And at the same time, it also opposed 1935 Act. And now you have prepared a constitution which is mere copying from the 1935 Act, because many things were taken into the draft constitution from the 1935 Act. For example, the Civil Services Act, the IAS IPS was taken from the 1935 Act. And the people like Damodar Swarup Seth, he is a socialist, and he pointed out that draft does not adopt from the more recent constitutions like the Soviet Union and ignores the centrality of the villages and in the Indian context. And Damodar Swarup Seth also argued that members of the Constituent Assembly were not elected by the adult franchisee, but they were selected by the kings, and some of them got selected by the kings and sent to the Constituent Assembly from the princely state, and some of them has come to the Constituent Assembly with mere voting. That is nothing but with simple voting to the taxpayers, they got elected to the Constituent Assembly. So these Constituent Assembly who are not elected by the people, how can they prepare a constitution keeping the interest of the people? That was the question of Damodar Swarup Seth. And he also further said that, sir, Indian Republic should have been a union, and a union of states with smaller autonomous republics. The union that would have been formed in our country is in this way. We would not have required so much emphasis on the centralization or the central polity to be very strong. I think our learned Dr. Ambedkar has laid centralization is a good thing and is useful at times, but we should not forget that all through his life, Mahatma Gandhi emphasized the fact that too much centralization of power makes it's a totalitarian, or it may again become a fascist policy which has been followed in Germany and Italy, led to the war. So that may again lead to the fascist ideas. The only method of safeguarding against totalitarianism and fascism is that power should be decentralized to the greatest extent, whatever extent possible, at the village level, at the mandal level, at the district level, at the state level. The decentralization of power should be there. What is centralization? What is a decentralization, children? Centralization means if the entire power lies with a single person, it is called as centralization. If the power lies with different at the different levels, it is called as a decentralization. So Damodar Swarup Seth told that the entire draft constitution has given too much authority to the central government and state governments were ignored. So it should decentralized to the greatest extent is what has been argued by the Damodar Swarup Seth. And we would have what such a centralization of power through welding of hearts as could not be matched anywhere in the world. But the natural consequences of centralizing power by law will be that our country, which has all along opposed fascism and the dictatorship, even today we claim we oppose it, but we are gradually moving towards the same fascism and dictatorship if the centralization of power takes place. This is what has been opined and criticized the draft constitution by the people like Damodar Swarup Seth and Maulana Hazrat Mohini. And there was a large debate on the fundamental rights also, children. So coming to the context of a right to equality, it was decided to legally put an end to the untouchability. The practice of untouchability was a severe problem in the country because of the caste system. So they wanted to put an end to the untouchability and give the right to equality to all the people. So let us see how this was answered by Ambedkar in his speech made on Tuesday on 29th of April in 1947. So the Honorable President was present in the chair in the Constituent Assembly. Pramod Ranjan Thakur, Pramata Ranjan Thakur has pointed out that, sir, point to which I wish to refer is in relation to the clause 6 relating to the untouchability, where it is said that untouchability in any form is abolished and the imposition of any disability on that account shall be an offence, is mentioned in the draft constitution. I do not understand how can you abolish the untouchability without abolishing the very caste system, is a question raised by the Pramata Ranjan Thakur. And untouchability is nothing but the symptom of the disease, namely the caste system, and unless we can do away with the caste system along altogether, there is no use tinkering with the problem of untouchability. So it is only superficially we can abolish it unless we abolish the entire untouchability. And people like S.C. Banerjee also has spoken on the untouchability. The word untouchability actually requires a clarification, he asked. So we have been accustomed to use the word for the last 25 years. Still there is a lot of confusion on what is untouchability. Sometimes it means taking a glass of water from a higher caste. Sometimes it has been used in the sense of admission of Harijans into the temples. Harijans mean lower caste people into the temple. They don't allow the lower caste people into the temple. So that is, whether that is called untouchability, whether giving of water is considered as untouchability. Mahatma Gandhi, who is a main exponent, who tried to bring to the light about the problems of the untouchability, has used it in various ways. So on different occasions, in different meanings he used. So what is the original meaning of the untouchability? Whether you have mentioned it in the draft constitution, it should be very clear in our minds so that we really mean by it. So what is the real implication of this word was asked by S.C. Banerjee. And even I think we should make no distinction between untouchability and caste distinction, because Mr. Thakur has said untouchability is merely a symptom, but the root cause is the caste distinction. Unless and until the root cause is eliminated, we cannot remove the untouchability. So in any form bound to exist. And when we are going to have an independent India, we should expect everyone to enjoy the equal social conditions. So the further the kind of debate went on fundamental rights, we shall see in the next class, children. Okay, until then, take care. Thank you, children.